Today's program is part of the award-winning series Profiles in Literature, featuring interviews with persons prominent in American literature for children. The moderator of this series is Dr. Jaqueline Shachter Weiss.
From London, England, comes the children's author-illustrator Aliki, whose art has appeared in over 150 books. How many of these did you also write?
Close to 50.
Oh my goodness, that's an amazing achievement. Welcome to your hometown,
Thank
Philadelphia.
you. Thank you.
The city of the free library that you enjoyed. Joining us is the coordinator emerita of children's work for that library, our own Carolyn Field.
Always a sunny day when I'm with you, Aliki. You know that.
You. In the U.S., who are your main publishers?
HarperCollins and Green Willow.
We have a photo of your studio where you create your magnificent books. Is there a detail you would like to share about your studio?
Well, my studio is very small. It's on the 5th floor of our house, which is in London, and it's so small I couldn't get one picture to show you, and it's quite secluded.
Fine. We have another photo of Franz Brandenburg, the husband of Aliki. Aliki Leocoris married Franz Brandenburg. Can you tell me how the two of you are linked in the children's book world?
Well, we just love children's books, and I've illustrated some of Franz's books, and it's a love.
And we have a picture also of two children, of which you're the parents. So would you introduce them and tell us their occupations?
Well, thank you. One is Jason, and and the other is Alexa. They are practically in all of my books that I've illustrated. Sometimes they're cats, sometimes
really?
they're mice, and sometimes they're themselves. And Jason is a filmmaker. He went to NYU and studied there and is now working on a film. And Alexa has a contract to write and illustrate 2 children's books.
Oh,
no.
Exciting.
Isn't that great?
That's wonderful.
So it's very nice to see them.
Why do you live in England now? Because you are basically a Philadelphian.
Well, Philadelphian American, and we went to England because to London because it's a great city to raise children, and they were getting to be teenagers when we moved there. And it's hard to move away. I come to the States 2 or 3 times a year, so it's an easy place to get to and from. It's also very quiet in England up there in my studio, and I spend
Fifth floor, yeah.
I spend most of my time there in working
solitary.
Some people call it Aliki's heaven.
Well, you know, Aunt Nina, the Nieces and Nephews, is one of Franz's Brandenburg's books, which you illustrated. What inspired that book?
Oh, he had a great Aunt Nina, and that's what he wrote about. And it was not exactly her personality that I turned Aunt Nina into, but it takes place in Franz's family house, and there's a picture of it, and the children. It's just his love of Aunt Nina.
That's Bern, Switzerland, isn't it?
It's in Zug, Switzerland, but it is in Switzerland. Franz is Swiss.
Well, now let's focus on one of your own books that you wrote and illustrated, A Hushed Little Baby, A Folk Lullaby, which I love very much. And it was also made into a film script by Western Wood. Did you help them adapt the film script? Did you have anything to do with it?
No, I didn't. What I remember about that, because I practically did it before I was born, was that I did the drawings on wood panels, and if I piled them up, they would be taller than I am.
For heaven's sakes. Well, and one of your earliest biographies was the story of William Penn, And it was a Junior Literary Guild book. What special style did you use to illustrate that book?
Oh, I tried to make that look like an old Philadelphia woodcut. And in fact, all of my books, I tried to keep the illustrations tuned into the subject. And maybe that's why I'm confusing to some people, but every book seems to be a surprise.
Yes, distinct.
But you know why I did that book.
No.
Because I lived close to City Hall
Oh, I see.
for a large part of my life.
Yeah, belly pan on top.
Another early biography was The Many Lives of Benjamin Franklin. To whom did you dedicate the book, and what did you draw on the dedication page?
I dedicated it to the one and only Carolyn Fields, who has done so much for children and for Philadelphia and for more than Philadelphia. It's a universal
Absolutely.
doing. And of course I put the free library there, which to me, I remember not only as in the book world, but also it's where I first heard chamber music
Oh,
and loved it so much.
how fine to hear the association.
Well, I can tell you that I am very honored that I would have a book dedicated, particularly one about
Absolutely.
Benjamin Franklin. But I like all your historical books, and I particularly like the unusual artistic and historical style of the Francis Louis XIV,
Really?
which you did for the King's Day. Where did you do the research on that?
I went to Versailles. I went to all the paintings I could muster. I went to all the writings I could read. I read a lot of books when I'm doing research. That particular book took maybe 3 years. A lot of my books did. It's the one book that I think I would have given up if I'm a person who gives up, because I didn't realize when I was doing this wonderful subject for me that I would have to draw Louis XIV with all his courtiers.
Oh.
So it was a lot of tedious
Sure.
work. A lot done with a magnifying glass.
Well, and another book that I like very much is A Medieval Feast, which was, as you know, a Reading Rainbow book here in this country. And it's a fictionalized view of dining in the 1400s. And in it, there is an unusual dedication. So I would like to know what the annual Liacourse feast is mentioned in the dedication.
Oh, it was my father's name day party that my
wonderful.
mother would feast
Lovely.
every year. I'm Greek, and our background they celebrate name days as more than birthdays, and that was the feast. And they were my sisters and my brother.
Oh, how
that's
fun.
wonderful. Wonderful.
Another well-known early book is the story of Johnny Appleseed. This popular American legend appears in many Ginn Basel readers. More recently, you did a very tender, long poem, The Two of Them. The Two of Them is a Reading Rainbow book and was adapted as a Western Woods film strip. Who inspired The Two of Them?
The Two of Them I wrote when my father died. It's a book that many children and teachers ask me about. The grandfather is my father. The little girl is a cross between Alexa and me, because some of it takes place in my early life with my father, and the rest of it is Alexa in her relationship to her grandfather. And in fact, sometimes I show people the ring in the story. This is the ring that my father made when Alexa was born. I changed it a bit in the story, but that's how real books are.
Yes. Your Greek heritage is very, very important. Both your parents were born in Greece. Your father became a hard-working Philadelphia grocer, and I had the pleasure of meeting your lovely, lovely mother, so gracious and petite like you. What was the first language you learned at home, and what's the English word for Aliki?
We spoke Greek in the house all through our lives, and when I went to kindergarten, I didn't know English, but I found out fast. Aliki doesn't have a meaning, but it was translated to Alice,
Oh, oh.
In those days, you covered up any ethnic.
Yes, and I
Background.
dislike that so much.
Yes, well,
Yeah,
I'm
I
very
like
happy.
Aliki.
I do
Thank you.
too. I do too. It's your blossoming.
Let's talk about
Well,
some
I want to
nonfiction a
just
minute.
mention
What?
that one of your most recent Grecian offerings is the Gods and Goddesses of Olympus.
Oh.
Yes, do tell us in what medium you did the handsome illustrations.
I used watercolors, and I did layers and layers and layers of watercolors over the board that I was using. And I used watercolors in most everything that I do, but sometimes I use pencil crayons if a book is gentle, like the two of them.
You did that in crayon?
I did that in pencil crayon, yes. My father had a very moving face, and he was not a watercolor type.
Person.
Well, now some other nonfiction books. You've done a lot of them, and one of them is "The Corn is Maize: The Gift of the Indians," which won the New York Academy of Science Children's Science Book Award. I have to read that.
Yeah.
And you tell me that recently it's on the California reading list. Corn
Yes,
is Maize.
I hear that it is. I think that of all my awards, not that, I don't mean it in that way, but that one thrilled me the most because it was given to me by scientists, and I was recognized. I'm a Virgo, and I like to be correct. I like to write. I don't like to make mistakes, so I was really thrilled with that one.
Well, that's great. And now there are three. There's a trilogy that you've done called Feelings, Manners, and Communications. Why did you do books like these?
Well, I think feelings are very important. When I was in third grade, I started writing down my feelings, and it's been a lifelong habit. And I never thought I'd write books, but that gave me maybe the practice of when my first book fell out. When I did feelings, the natural was manners, because that it also has to do with feelings, and
That's right.
communication is an extension of both of them, how we relate, how we talk to each other. And that's how they came about.
Well, and didn't you say that Feelings has just won an award, an international award somewhere?
Award.
A
Swiss
award.
Swiss award.
With Piaget and
Isn't
the
that
name.
wonderful?
Great.
Well, in the nonfiction area, you've written a number of books on dinosaurs. Now, I must say, children adore dinosaurs. I don't know any child that doesn't. Your first book was, what, My Visit to the Dinosaurs?
Yes, it was.
Well, how did you get started on this, Aliki?
Well, Frank Brandley said, why don't you write a book about dinosaurs? And I said, I don't know anything about dinosaurs. And he said, great. Frank Brandley was the editor of the Let's Read and Find Out books. And I did one, and then I started reading more and more about dinosaurs, and I realized my research was so complex that I had to put it in 3 books.
Different.
And that's right, and so that's how they came about.
Well, you did a number of books for that Let's Read and Find Out
Yes.
series under Dr. Brandley, didn't you?
Yes.
I think that's great.
He was a great inspirer.
Another book that's won a lot of awards is Mummies Made in Egypt. It won the Garden State Children's Book Award and Dutch Children's Book Council Silver Slate Pencil Award.
I got a silver
Is that?
pencil, a slate pencil that you could write on a blackboard as they did in those days.
Oh, for heaven's
It was a
sake.
beautiful award.
Well,
That was lovely.
where did you get that award?
In Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam?
Yes.
Well, now, who helped you with the details for that book on the mummies?
Oh, that book, I didn't know anything about mummies when I got that idea. We lived in New York. I took a trip to the British Museum in London. I saw the cat in the book, mummified. I didn't know why it was mummified. So in my research, I started finding out. A lot of the research was done at the British Museum, but you can only get so much from a museum. The rest you need in your studio. So I had lots of books on mummies and the Egyptian religion and when I do research, I get material that I don't necessarily use in the books, but that help me round
Gives you the
out
background,
understanding.
and, yeah, so that you feel you know the subject
That's
well. Well, that's wonderful. Another book that has won the was a Reading Rainbow book was How a Book is Made, which I think is very important for young children. This is for young children today. But I noticed that it has sort of a cartoon blurb on the jacket. And in a number of your books, you have cartoon blurbs and also cats. Now, you mentioned cats before. Why?
Well, I used cats in this book because the subject was so heavy and intense and technical, and I didn't want... The cats are all people that relate to their jobs. But I didn't want to exactly make a portrait of my editor or the the Italian production person, so I used cats for more fun. The blurbs are, I do that in the dinosaur books. I very often have a bubble with more information. It's my way of getting more information in, or my way of getting fun into the book, because with an intense subject like that, you really want to make it fun for people to read.
Entertaining.
I do books for myself, and I want to have fun too doing it. But yes,
That's interesting.
that's how that happens.
Well, I love cats. I have a cat, you know, beautiful cat.
We have one too.
So I'd like any of your cat pictures in any of your books. Why is it that you write both fiction and nonfiction? I know you've written a lot of books, but you...
It's funny, when I started, I was writing nonfiction, but I didn't even know I was writing nonfiction. It was just people that I cared about, George Washington Carver and Johnny Appleseed and all of those subjects, and they were a foil to the art that I wanted to do. And the nonfiction books were just my interest in those particular subjects. Fiction, which I call feeling books because they come from inside of me, are all based on my writing my feelings down, that habit that I started long ago. And I think they're both they're all feeling books, they're all fiction, nonfiction books.
Yeah, are written in a fiction style, most of the nonfiction books.
Well, yes, I try to
factual
make them
information.
real. I think there's life in everything.
Of course, and you are a combination of imagination and curiosity. A question is, your husband was formerly a New York literary agent. Do you have an agent now?
Well, he is my agent.
Is he?
What can you share about your present and future book plans?
Oh, to keep on going. I'm working on 6 books, but I don't work on 6 books at the same time. They're all in different stages. I've now been touring the States, visiting zoos, because following my visit to the aquarium, which I wrote, is going to be my visit to the zoo. So I've been to California and to Atlanta and to Philadelphia and a few other zoos, and I have different books at different stages. 2 will be published in the next, one will be published in the spring, 2 will be published in the fall. They keep on coming, and I keep having ideas. So people say, how long are you, children often say, how long are you going to write, or what would you be doing if you weren't writing? I said I'd be dead. So
you are very fortunate because you know that your books will be published.
Well,
and
no, I get rejects.
You do?
You do?
Unheard of.
A few of them.
Another way in which you're fortunate, you knew at a very early age that you wanted to become an artist. How young were you when you had your first recognition for your artistic talent?
In kindergarten.
Isn't that amazing?
I had a great teacher, and my early teachers, my first 3 teachers, gave me so much of the encouragement that I needed, and that mixed in with my parents, who wanted to do the best for what they called talents, but it's mostly hard work and perseverance and all those other words. that I was very lucky in that way. That's why I visit schools, that's why I love teachers, and I give them whatever I can because they hold a child's future in their hands. And I really would do anything for a teacher. They're the greatest.
I'm told that in kindergarten...
Not to mention librarians.
Well, I was going to say, I forgot all about that.
It's the same thing. You're all the same. You're all in this world, and I don't really separate.
But I do remember that in kindergarten you drew a picture of yourself and your siblings and Peter Rabbit's family.
It's a great story.
Right. 3 girls and a boy in both Peter Rabbit's family and yours.
Because they both had a boy named Peter.
Ah, that's
yes,
true.
Peter, your brother.
That's true.
That's right.
That's true.
Where did you go to college?
I went to the Philadelphia School of Art, which has changed names several times.
I know.
It's now the Philadelphia College of Art.
And
Right?
wasn't it early Industrial College of Art or something like that?
That's before
And then
my time.
Yeah. Oh,
Way
that's
back
right.
there
That's
somewhere.
Right. Well, you have a number of publishers. How do you work with so many editors?
Oh, easily. And some of them read. Editors are like teachers. Editors try to make what you want to say clearer if you need an editor at all, or try to find out where the light is coming from, or what isn't clear in the pictures. It's easy. Work with people. They're different editors. They're different people.
They want different types of books? Or
Well, I tried to keep my books separated. The Green Willow books, I tried to be the fiction stories, and the feeling books, and the HarperCollins ones were the nonfiction, but it all got mixed up, so now.
Oh, now.
And I also have other publishers
I know
that
you do.
my earlier books
I know you
were
have
published with.
just a long list of them.
Yes.
What's your work schedule?
I work from early in the morning to late at night. I
you
work
really?
like 12 or 15 hours a day. Because I'm over there in England all by myself, more or less. Most everybody that I love is here, so that I have to get
You
on a
can keep
plane
working.
to see. Yes, my children live here too.
Both do?
Yes, Jason lives in New York, and Alexa right now lives in Missoula, Montana. So there's a lot of planes in my life.
Tell me, why did Alexa illustrate Franz's book, A Fun Weekend, instead of you illustrating it?
Oh,
Did
I
you
was-
let her just?
Oh, well, I was busy at the time, and Susan Hirschman said, "Who would you like, Franz, to illustrate that book?" He said, "Maybe Alexa," and she gave her a chance, and that was really lovely.
Yes.
was a start.
because
I agree.
That's right. It was something there in print, and she's had plenty of rejections. It's not easy, but it's great that she's now on her way.
Independent.
I think that's great. Well, now as a librarian, I'm very interested in knowing who makes a decision as to the reissuing of a book and perhaps adding color or changing or so on.
Yes, well, a lot of the Let's Read and Find Out books I've redone. In fact, one of those 6 that I mentioned is Wild and Woolly Mammoths, which will be a 9x11 and in full color and with lots more information. The reissuing, if publishers get enough requests, they will hear it. Lots of people ask for my Greek folk tales to be reissued, and I mentioned it again and again, and I guess a perfect opening was my doing Gods and Goddesses of Olympus. I had the rights. Harper published those, and that was really nice because lots of people are happy. I have one more that maybe they'll do after this, seeing that whether they're successfully received or not. It depends on
But it basically it's the
requesting.
publisher that makes a decision, or
They
the
make
editor?
the decision, but lots of people request. The story of George Washington Carver, A Wheat
Yeah,
as a Flower,
that's good.
was out of print for a long time, and it was asked for again and again, and it was, so it's not
It's a
always
lovely
I who
story.
suggested, thank you. Well, it's a great
I know, I
character.
think-
Of course, of course, and a fitting
I've just been
tribute.
so lucky in my life that I've been interested in people that children are interested in, people and subjects.
Well, you know,
like-
the Greek folk tale that you cited, that you retold, that has magnificent art.
Oh,
It
thank
won
you.
the Boys Club of America Junior Book
That
Award.
was an early one.
What medium did you use?
I used gouache, opaque watercolor, And I really had a wonderful time doing that one. And I like the story very much. I like the 3 pieces of advice. I often think about that one before I go to sleep, and I'm anxious for the next day.
Thank you very much, both of you. Aliki is most comfortable in the studio at the top floor of her tall London house, drawing and listening to Mozart. Her books have been translated into Catalan, Danish, Dutch, Finnish, French, German, Hebrew, Japanese, Norwegian, Swedish, and Braille. In 1991, she won the Pennsylvania School Librarians Association Award and the Drexel Citation from Drexel University and the Free Library of Philadelphia. It's been great having you as our guest.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful being here.
Thank you.
And what a great place to do it.
Yes.
You look darling.
La 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 la.